Hello and welcome to Heal the World show. Permelia Parham here with the Healing Institute. Heal the World show is brought to you by the Healing Institute, and the Healing Institute is a virtual global platform for holistic practitioners. And I'm very, very excited every week to introduce one of my holistic practitioners. So we are out to heal the world. This is very important. And we are doing it every week by interviewing a practitioner that's on the Healing Institute platform. I've now been studying wellness and health and healing for over 20 years, and I have been using holistic ways of being well and staying well for that time. And it really works. So one of the other things I wanted to let people know, we want to give people hope. We want people to be hopeful that there are ways for them to be well and stay well on their health journey. And we're all on a health journey. So one of the reasons that this is so important to me is because we had a tragedy in my family when my mother passed away at age 61. It was due to some complications with a medication she'd been on for a very long time, and it actually compromised her kidneys. So this was a tragedy that she died so young at 61, but it was also a tragedy. I was 5 months pregnant with my son. It was right before Christmas. And she not only was it a tragedy that she died so young, but she also never got to meet my children. And they never got to meet their grandmother. I don't want that to happen to anybody else. I want people to know that there's alternative ways to be well. And so that's why we are doing Heal the World show every Friday morning. Friday morning for us, because we're on the west coast of Canada. And today, I am really excited about introducing one of our holistic practitioners, Mindy Coleman. And I do apologize. I know there's some audio interference, and I'm not quite sure why. So I do apologize for that. But Mindy is a registered clinical counselor, and we're going to talk today about some of the work that she does, and also how she helps her clients. So Mindy, welcome. Yes, tell us a little bit about yourself, and also the topic today is impact on unhealthy relationships. And as a clinical counselor, I'm sure you've seen lots of those.
Oh, yes. That's one of the main issues that I deal with constantly on a daily basis. I have been a therapist, a registered clinical counselor now for 36 years. And 27 of those years, I specialized in trauma. And now I'm turning more to working with people because, as far as I'm concerned, everything is trauma. So I look at it as somebody loses a child, loses their job, or breaks a fingernail. It depends on how they take it in, how they're triggered by it. So when I'm working with people, I never take it as though, oh, well, what's that, or that's not a big deal. It is. It's when people are traumatized or they get um, I call it stung about issues that have happened in their childhood or in early years. So a lot of the stuff that I work with is from past traumas from childhood issues and incidents that have happened to them that now will occur again in the relationships. They either attract those same kind of people in their lives because that's all they know, or that's how they feel about themselves because of their low self-esteem and no confidence.
So the effects on unhealthy relationships. So can you give us maybe a list of a few things that can actually create an unhealthy relationship?
What creates that, or how they feel about it?
What would create in the person's life, what would create that unhealthy relationship?
Well, a lot of it is created say it's the relationship isn't balanced. There's one person that is much more in control, or they're manipulative, or they're bullies. And so a lot of times what happens with one person, and in my case, when I'm working with a lot of my clients, most of my clients are empaths. They're sensitive, they're caring, they take the blame, they try to figure out ways that they can correct these relationships, and they can't, because it takes two people to actually want to work on a relationship, where one person may just be um, overpowering at all
Mm.
times.
So
And
then the person that you're working with, your client, would have maybe low self-esteem, lack of sense of worth. Those are the clients that come to you. They may be feeling alone, even if they're in a relationship, a partner relationship. They
right,
might be fearful or feeling alone.
right. And
Yeah,
there's depression. There's, like I said, low self-esteem. And a lot of times, sometimes it's suicidal. They just get to a point where,
yeah,
what's the use? I can't do anything right, and everything's my fault.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk then a little bit about how the results that your clients get when they work with you.
Yeah.
So if you, let's say there's a childhood trauma that you've dealt with, or and you've dealt with this client, and then what do you use as your tools to turn that around?
Well, every client is different, and so I don't have a cookie cutter solution to anything. So I start off, basically, who they are and what they're looking for. I do have a method of certain questions that I ask every client, and a lot of times the in asking these questions is that I want to get out information that sometimes they don't even know that
Mm,
is happening to them. So I tell them it's kind of like these questions, and it's like I'm vacuuming a floor, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to get to every corner of that issue, so that we deal with the whole issue, and
right.
so that's nothing left over, so that when we're finished with our sessions, that they're still going to be triggered. That the idea is not is being able to let that go.
So can you give us, of course, without any names, can you give us a specific outcome from a particular client that you worked with? Um, I'm
Well,
just looking.
I'll just give you a little bit, like, say, for instance, one of my clients, she's in her 60s. She's gone through all kinds of different relationships, and even some of the jobs that she's had. And there've always come, tragedy, mostly violent back endings of the relationship. And so, and this woman has a doctorate in philosophy. She has had many, many awards throughout her life. And so when we went back into her childhood, her father told her she was ugly and stupid and useless and would never ever amount to anything. And so she strived so much to be an achiever that she's gone over the top, and she hasn't been able to physically and mentally take care of herself.
Mm,
And so in any relationship, she's always looking at, when the next shoe is going to drop. How is she going? She's always blaming herself for everything that's ever happened to her. So, we did some trauma work with her. We're looking through some of her childhood traumas, learning how to set some boundaries
mm,
for
perfect. Yeah.
herself. And that boundary thing goes across everything, because that is usually the number one issue, because people allow themselves to be walked on or abused, or physically, mentally, spiritually, any kind of ways of abuse that happens out there.
And setting boundaries is not something that we're taught. So it's very important, especially as women, I find too, we give because that's how we've been taught. You have to look after everybody else. So we're not taught to look after ourselves. So setting boundaries and self-care, I know that's a big part um, of the work that you do is
Yeah.
putting self-care into place for your clients or for them, getting
Yeah.
them to realize that's important.
Well, just even the word selfish. Oh my Lord, it's just this huge thing about, oh, I hear that so much. Well, if I do that, then I'm being selfish. And it just doesn't happen in the home life. It happens at school, just exactly what you're saying. We've been taught that. It happens in, churches. It happens politics everywhere. We're not supposed to be able to think for ourselves, take care of ourselves, particularly women, that
So we
happens
have
to.
a question from the audience. So if you have low self-esteem, is the work also around developing new values?
Absolutely. New belief systems too, that and the importance of who you are. I truly believe we've all been put on earth here to do something very special. Maybe 14 things. I don't know, whatever. It's our job to find that. And when we're in an abusive and unhealthy and narcissistic relationship, we can't do that because there's too much energy trying to just survive.
Ah,
And so what we need is to turn that and use that energy for ourselves, and then find healthy ways. And everybody has a different way of doing it. I don't say this is what you have to do. Again, it's not that cookie cutter thing, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's very, very independently what each person needs to be looking at.
and this might help. What you might have just answered this question that just popped up. On how would you respond to someone who is a spiritual teacher who tells you that boundaries don't exist?
Yes. Oh, yes, I have that. So with those, I start looking at, the pros and cons. And this is what one person says, and how do they fit in that? What do they think about that? How does that fit in their lives? Is it going to bring them what they need as far as peace and joy, and be able not to have to be fearful every day about what they say, or they're walking on eggshells? And that doesn't matter if it's a relationship or if it's a spiritual leader. I've had many, many, many things about that. And that's one person's opinion. Is it my client's opinion and belief? That's where we need to come to.
Beautiful. Perfect. So another one of your clients, you sent me some notes, so that was great. Um, and I see that you probably work mostly with women, but this particular client was a male, and he had some past traumas, some childhood traumas,
Mhm.
and so working with him to set up healthy boundaries. How did the result happen? What was the results that came from your work with this per particular gentleman?
Right. It's not so much that I work just with women. My men that I work with are very sensitive, and everybody that I work with, be male or female, they come down of trying to give too much, trying to take care of other people, like you said earlier. So this particular man, he he was in a household of 5 women. He had his grandmother, his mother, and 3 sisters, I believe, and he felt like an outcast. His needs were never met. He was abused. They had him do things for them like almost a slave like. They
Mm,
stole things from him. The biggest thing too is with an unhealthy relationship. Often the abusers lie. They lie like, and they're so good at it that you believe it. And this man was suicidal, And so after working with him and looking at, about actually carrying on and living in this situation, he had to put an end to it. And so the problem with those kind of things, where I'd like to change that to challenges that happen there, is that when you end a relationship with somebody in your family, you might be ending a whole group of people, maybe one side of a family or your immediate family. And in this case, the sister's husbands, their children, the mother had remarried. So there was a lot of people there he loved and he wanted to continue to be with, and he had to make that decision. But until he got some self-esteem and some confidence and some self-belief, he couldn't make that decision. And so now he's separated, he's married, and they're expecting their first baby.
Oh, that's a wonderful ending to
Mhm.
this story. So we have a comment, actually from Leslie. She said she just wants to know, she just wants you to know she likes challenges instead of problems.
Yes, I
So
do.
great reframe. Yeah.
Problems, you get up to a wall and then I've got a problem getting through this. Challenges, there's solutions to it.
Yes. It feels more positive when you talk about a challenge.
Yes.
Most definitely. So another client that you wanted to talk about was this client who'd been in a very long-term relationship from a very young age. And
Mhm.
so she, again, had to discover who her own strengths were and what her needs were, because she'd been in this relationship with married to this man who she knew from high school,
Right.
and had been in, well, just reading what you said to me, it sounded very much like an emotionally abusive relationship, in that she wasn't allowed to do for herself.
Right. This isn't an uncommon situation. In her particular time, it was her high school sweetheart, and again, a very caring, giving, loving woman, and her thinking her job was to taking care of everyone else.
Hmm.
And he picked up on that very quickly, as in the very early years of their lives, and he had her as a routine. What she did at 9 o'clock, he would call her on a regular basis throughout the day to make sure that she was at home or that she, had bought the groceries. It was just, and so then her children finally left home, and it was like 6 years after they had left home, and they're in their early 20s, and well, about 26, 27, and they decided they didn't want to come home because they couldn't watch what was going on with their parents. So she too, her. It was very exciting and to work with her to see this blossom happen, this beautiful flower, started to become who she was, and never knew that. And she's in her late 40s now, and again, learning how to set boundaries and what is her strengths,
Hmm.
and learning to say no. Oh my Lord, that was one of the most exciting things, that the light bulb went on of, like, I can say no and not have to explain it or don't have to do much of anything else. She reconnected with her family again, which, they were very worried for all these years and had talked to her. So this isn't sort of like the first time when she came to me that she's heard this stuff. People have been trying to tell her for years, but
Mm.
she was ready.
Yeah, she needed to be ready. So we
Mhm.
have a comment that you have a very soft, approachable way of being with your clients.
I follow my clients because I look at them as they are the experts.
Yeah.
And I have years and years of trainings and experience and learning exercise and techniques. So I say I have a very, very deep counseling toolkit. And I love
Well,
sort of through it and looking for something. And so somebody comes in and I say, what about this technique? Or how do you feel about this? And they say, no, I don't think so. I go, great, let's find something else. And so we
And I love the idea that I think you mentioned it earlier, that it's you see your clients as blossoming. So you
uh,
know what they have inside them that they don't even know that they have. And
I
so they're like flowers. They're coming into bloom.
it's what I live for. It's what I live for, to see that light go on. Like, it's just so exciting, right? And so we go through the trudgeries of ups and downs and heavy muds and depression and grief, and you need to have that grief in there to let go of a lot of dreams that either didn't happen or just didn't happen. And so to see that light, yeah, I live for that. If I didn't need to be paid for that, that's exactly what I would live for. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. So any other thoughts or comments that you have that you want to share with our audience about the work that you do?
Yes, I think when we're talking about, I put it down as unhealthy, toxic, narcissistic relationships. It's really, really important to look at the symptoms of what's going on. If you are in a narcissistic relationship, that maybe the whole thing is you need to get out and finding ways of doing that. And there's things that people have that are, again, challenges, finances, their children, sex, belief systems, lack of support systems.
Mhm.
All of those things need to be taken into consideration.
And
And
lots of times people don't know that that there are support systems for them.
yeah, and
So
yeah.
that would
Oh,
be part of the work that you do with your clients, is letting them know what is available.
absolutely.
We have a question. I have a neighbor. This is Leslie. I have a neighbor who's in dementia and screams at her and the other neighbors. Is there anything that they can do? Any ideas that you might have that they can help this particular person?
Well, dementia is a whole different ballpark. And there are lots and lots of ways of dealing with dementia. Dementia, I would not put in as narcissism, and so I would say
Mm,
that. And there are different groups, and you can get onto YouTube, and you can get onto Google those kind of groups. I think it's really important when you're dealing with dementia to know what that means and how to deal with them.
mm.
They too have very hurt and high integrity. And when we think we can just push them around and tell them what to do, then we become the bullies.
So what can they do as neighbors? Should they just keep a low profile? Should they, maybe if there's a husband or family members that they can talk to, just get some advice as to what they can do, or should they just stay away?
Oh, never, never. No, no. When people are crying for help, you need to take a look at that, and that's what I'm saying. For themselves, again, this is a whole different subject than what I'm talking about. Is for them to is to learn more about it and to go online and learn about it and what other groups are around there. And there's a lot of support groups to helping, anything to do with dementia or any of that kind of uh,
Beautiful, great advice. Yes. So we're nearly coming to the end of our half hour. I just want people who are watching to know we don't have enough time during the 30 minutes, because it's only 30 minutes, to actually make comments and about your comments, but we are very grateful that you are making comments, and we will go in after the show. Both Mindy and I will go in after the show, and um, we will thank you for attending. We will make additional comments, and any questions that you have that we haven't answered, we will answer those as well. So I just want to let people know that Mindy has an offer, and I'm just going to run this now. She has a complimentary consultation session. That's her offer to those of you who came on the show today, and where you can. Oh, and it's in the comments. Thank you very much, Leslie. We have we have a wonderful person in our back green room that helps us with that. So it's in the comments now, the link where you can find Mindy on the Healing Institute website. And we're just so delighted, Mindy, to have you as part of our group and part of our community. We are a community not only of holistic practitioners, but of clients that are coming to the website so that we can help them with their health. So we're just delighted that that is happening. And any final comments that you have, Mindy, that you'd like to say before we say goodbye?
Everybody deserves to have the best life they can possibly have, to be free, to be full of joy, to have abundance, and to be able to really enjoy every moment. And I really work on being in the now. And so that would be, to love yourself. Because I'll tell you, the only person that can do that good job is yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being part of our Heal the World show. And we have a big ask, everyone. We are out to heal the world. And we are doing this one holistic practitioner at a time, or not just at a time, but also in our hub of holistic practitioners with the Healing Institute. And they're amazing. Our practitioners are absolutely amazing. And you got to meet another one today. Mindy Coleman. Thanks so much for being on the show, Mindy.
Thank you so much for having me.